She grinned as my boat burned. I'll never forget her expression. Karen, self-styled queen of the HOA, just close enough not to get burned. Her arms crossed in satisfaction, eyes fixed on the flames. The fiberglass burning and crunching, combined with her smugness, sounded like the affirmation of her authority. Unbeknownst to her, she'd just destroyed the final bit of my late wife. And by doing so, she'd awakened something in me I'd not touched in years. The part of me that knew just how to dismantle a corrupt HOA board. Because I wasn't just a widowed dad trying to live in quiet. I was the guy who'd helped draft the very laws Karen was now breaking. Let me take you back to the start. Before the fire, before the threats, before Karen, after my wife passed away in a car accident, I felt as if I was drowning. My son Caleb was only 14 at the time, and I could see him slipping away, quiet, distant, furious. I knew we needed to start fresh, somewhere peaceful, somewhere safe, somewhere new. So we relocated to a small, quiet suburban area on the outskirts of a stunning lake. The house was not flashy, but it had a dock, and that's what did it for me. You see, my wife and I had been saving for years to purchase our family boat, a small, durable cruiser that had been with us through laughing summers, late-night fishing trips, and the occasional embarrassing teenager tantrum. That boat contained our finest memories, and when we relocated, I took it with me. The initial few weeks were tranquil. Caleb even smiled once more, particularly when we ventured out onto the lake. He adored that boat. It was the one thing from our previous he could still cling to. Then she materialized. Karen, the name may appear innocuous, but in our community it was preceded by a clipboard, a clenched frown, and a voice that could make your skin crawl. She was the HOA president, self-appointed year after year by means of sneaky board tactics and coercion. She visited my door one day. "I'm Karen," she asserted. I my dock like it irritated her. "Welcome to the neighborhood. I simply wanted to provide you with a copy of the community standards." I accepted the packet graciously. "Thanks. I already read the bylaws online." She smiled, but it wasn't warm. It was sharp. "Well, we've revised a few things recently. You'd like to take a look?" I nodded. She departed, but I felt uncomfortable. 3 days later, I received my first violation. Boat in view of neighboring properties must be removed or pay daily fines. I blinking at the paper. The boat was docked behind my house on my property, hardly seen unless someone was standing at the edge of their yard and craned their head. I went over to Karen's to speak to her. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "The boat is not visible from the street, and the bylaws don't say anything about personal docks." She didn't bat an eye. "Like I told you, we upgraded the standards." "You're in. Violation." I wanted to see the new documents. She declined, said they were internal. That's when I knew something was off. I tried to explain to her, told her the boat held sentimental value, that it was one of the last things of my wife that we had left. Her face didn't change. "It's not personal," she said. "We just like to keep the area looking elegant." But it was personal, and it was just the start. The threatening letters continued. Then came the fines, $100 a day, then $200. And when I refused to pay because I knew they were invalid, Karen upped the ante. At night, late, we'd hear footsteps by the dock. One morning I woke to find the boat lines had been cut. The boat had drifted several feet into the lake. Caleb was terrified. I was enraged. So, installed cameras. High-resolution night vision motion detection. Hidden but effective. 2 nights later, I caught her Karen on my dock with a gas can. I watched in horror as she splashed gasoline over the boat's tarp, looked around, and lit it. Flames broke out. I ran out of the house shouting. Caleb behind me screaming, but the fire spread quickly. The boat was consumed in minutes. Karen watched a few yards back, arms crossed. She didn't run, didn't flail, just stood there like it was her just desserts. "You were warned," she said as she walked away into the shadows. I wanted to run at her, but I didn't because now I had her. I called police, showed them the tape, filed a complaint, but Karen was smart. Said it was doctored, that she hadn't been there, that it was some person with a wig, and the policeman said it would take time for fingerprints. But I wasn't about to wait. You understand, prior to me moving here, I had been a real estate lawyer with an HOA litigation practice for 15 years. I'd written the very state laws that restricted HOA board authority, made them transparent in their meetings, and provided homeowner access to records. Karen had recently torched the boat of the wrong man. I spent the ensuing few days digging. I requested all HOA meeting minutes, votes, and financial statements dating back 2 years. When they refused, I sent in a notice under state law. They did not care, so I put in an injunction. I spoke to a friend of mine, Mark, who happened to work in the state oversight committee. We opened up an official audit. What we discovered was shocking. Karen and her board had been in secret for years. No legitimate elections, no homeowner votes, made up rules on a whim, altered bylaws without warning, fined people into submission, and worst of all, they had been siphoning money. From administrative fees into an off-book account, personal getaways, spa treatments, a new TV in Karen's home office. It wasn't only unethical, it was illegal. Mark's team worked quickly. Within a week, the whole HOA board was served. The state suspended the board pending full investigation. Karen was deprived of all authority. A forensic accountant was placed over the HOA's finances. The police reopened the case of arson and then justice. Karen was arrested for arson, trespassing, and fraud. The evidence this time held: the video, the audit, the witnesses from neighbors who had witnessed her lurking around beforehand. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison, heavily fined, and prohibited from serving on any HOA board again. The neighborhood breathed a collective sigh of relief. We had a community meeting, the first actual one in years. I laid it all out: the fraud, the abuse, how Karen had manipulated our HOA into her own fiefdom. People were shocked, outraged, thankful. We had emergency elections, honest, transparent elections. I was urged to run for president. I refused, but I did offer to be the legal advisor, assisting the new board in rewriting the bylaws with fairness, transparency, and homeowner participation. But let me share with you what was most important. Caleb was devastated after the fire. That boat was his lifeline to his mom. So we rebuilt it together. We spent every Saturday and Sunday in the garage sandpapering wood, painting components, learning off YouTube tutorials, messing up, and correcting. It took months, but when we finally slid our new boat into the water, Caleb was grinning again, and I had her back again. Little. And now each time we venture onto the lake, I glance back at our house, the very same house Karen once attempted to control, and I smile. Not because I emerged victorious, but because I stood tall, because I defended what was important. Karen attempted to incinerate my peace, but in the process she fired up something much more robust, a community that finally found its voice, and a father who remembered just how powerful he might be. If you enjoy this story, do subscribe to my channel.